Most people misunderstand what discipline actually is. They imagine it as intensity, as visible effort, as someone forcing themselves through discomfort with clenched teeth and loud declarations. But real discipline is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need witnesses. And it doesn't negotiate. Discipline is the ability to remain internally stable while everything around you tries to destabilize you. That ability changes how people respond to you, whether they are aware of it or not. And more importantly, it changes how you respond to yourself. Let's start with something uncomfortable but honest. The majority of people are not held back by lack of opportunity, intelligence, or resources. They are held back by internal volatility. Their emotions fluctuate. Their motivation spikes and crashes. Their standards shift depending on how they feel that day. This makes their behavior predictable, and predictability, in social and professional systems, is weakness, not moral weakness, structural weakness. In psychology, predictability allows others to anticipate and influence your actions. When your reactions follow emotional patterns, you can be managed by stress, by pressure, by other people. Discipline interrupts that pattern, not by suppressing emotion, but by separating emotion from decision-making. This distinction matters. Emotion is automatic. Action is chosen. Most people collapse those two processes into one. They feel something, then immediately act on it. Disciplined individuals insert a delay. That delay is everything. Consider how power operates in everyday life. In conversations, the person who fills silence fastest reveals the most. In negotiations, the first person to rush a concession loses leverage. In conflict, the person who reacts emotionally gives away control. These are not theories. They are observed behavioral patterns, and they all trace back to the same mechanism: emotional regulation. Discipline is emotional regulation expressed through behavior. It's why truly disciplined people don't look frantic. They don't rush explanations. They don't broadcast struggle. They conserve energy. Now let's shift perspective. Imagine two individuals facing the same challenge. Both are exhausted. Both are under pressure. Both feel doubt. One delays action, waiting for motivation to return. The other moves anyway without emotional reinforcement. Over time, the second person develops trust in their own reliability. That trust is foundational. Psychologically, anxiety often comes from knowing you are unreliable to yourself. When you repeatedly break promises to yourself, your mind learns that intentions are meaningless. That internal inconsistency creates background stress. Discipline removes that stress by eliminating negotiation. You don't ask yourself whether you feel like acting. You act because action is scheduled. This sounds simple, but it rewires identity. Identity is not who you think you are. It is what your brain expects you to do. Every time you follow through despite discomfort, you reinforce a self-image of dependability. That internal reputation matters more than any external one. Now let's talk about silence. Not silence as absence of speech. Silence is absence of unnecessary output. Modern culture rewards broadcasting. People announce goals, routines, intentions, and transformations before any results exist. Psychologically, this releases dopamine prematurely. The brain receives a reward without effort. That reduces follow-through. Research on goal pursuit shows that public declarations often reduce the likelihood of completion because the emotional payoff is already partially consumed. Disciplined individuals avoid this trap instinctively. They reduce exposure. They don't seek validation during formation. They allow identity to solidify privately. This creates an unsettling effect in social environments. When someone stops oversharing, others notice. Not consciously, but emotionally. Silence disrupts expectations. People begin projecting meaning onto the absence of information. They assume intention. They assume confidence. Not because silence is magical, but because unpredictability disrupts social equilibrium. Humans are pattern recognition machines. When patterns break, attention increases. This is why restrained individuals often appear more serious or capable than equally skilled, but more expressive peers. They leak less information. Information asymmetry is power. This applies at work, in relationships, and in leadership. Now consider isolation, not as rejection, but as training. Most people are never alone with their thoughts long enough to confront their inconsistencies. They fill space with noise, music, content, conversations. This keeps discomfort at bay. But discomfort contains information. When external input is removed, the mind surfaces unresolved tension. This is not pleasant, which is why most people avoid it. Disciplined individuals don't romanticize isolation, but they use it strategically. They create periods of low stimulation to observe internal resistance. Resistance reveals priorities. If you avoid a task consistently, it's not laziness, it's emotional avoidance. Isolation exposes that, and once exposed, avoidance loses power. In neuroscience, repeated exposure without escape reduces emotional reactivity. This is how fear diminishes. Discipline applies this principle to effort. You don't wait for fear to disappear. You act while it's present. Over time, the nervous system recalibrates. What once felt overwhelming becomes neutral. This is how resilience is built, not through inspiration, but through repetition. Now let's address something uncomfortable. As discipline increases, social friction increases, not because disciplined people become arrogant, but because they stop mirroring others. They no longer match emotional volatility. They no longer validate every complaint. They don't participate in shared avoidance rituals. This creates distance. Distance is often misinterpreted as coldness, but in reality it's independence. Social groups maintain cohesion through shared behaviors. When someone deviates, it highlights alternatives. Alternatives threaten comfort. This is why people often discourage change, not out of malice, but out of self-preservation. Disciplined individuals accept this. They don't argue for approval. They let results speak. Results don't require explanation. They create recalibration. People either adjust their expectations upward or disengage. Both outcomes are functional. Now let's talk about unpredictability again, but with clarity. Unpredictability does not mean inconsistency. It means emotional opacity combined with behavioral reliability. You show up consistently, but your internal state is inaccessible. People cannot time your weakness because you don't advertise it. This frustrates manipulation. Manipulation requires leverage. Leverage requires emotional access. Discipline closes that channel. This is why disciplined individuals often seem unbothered by things that unsettle others. They are not immune to stress. They are immune to reaction. That distinction matters. Reaction consumes energy. Response conserves it. Now let's examine standards. Most failure is not due to lack of effort, but flexible standards. People adjust expectations downward when tired. They make exceptions frequently. These exceptions accumulate. Over time, the baseline erodes. Disciplined individuals raise the floor instead of chasing the ceiling. They define minimum acceptable behavior and enforce it regardless of conditions. This creates stability. Stability allows compounding. Compounding is where results accelerate. In behavioral economics, consistency outperforms intensity over long time horizons. Small actions executed relentlessly outperform sporadic bursts of effort. This is boring, which is why most people don't do it. Discipline is not exciting. It's effective. Now let's confront identity death. This is the part most people avoid. Change requires letting go of a self-image that once provided comfort. Even if that self-image was dysfunctional, it was familiar. The brain prefers familiar pain to unfamiliar uncertainty. This is why people sabotage progress. They return to known patterns because identity feels threatened. Disciplined individuals recognize this process and move forward anyway. They allow social misunderstanding. They allow internal discomfort. They don't defend the transition. They endure it. Over time, the new identity stabilizes, not through belief, but through evidence. Your brain stops questioning who you are when your behavior proves it repeatedly. That's when confidence becomes quiet. You no longer need reassurance. You trust your system, and that trust radiates. People respond differently to those who are internally settled. They feel it in conversations, in eye contact, in decision-making. The absence of urgency creates authority. Authority is not dominance, it's gravity. Others orient around it naturally. Now let's address freedom. Most people believe freedom comes from removing constraints. In reality, freedom comes from internal order. When your impulses control you, you are reactive. When you control your impulses, options expand. Discipline creates optionality. You are not at the mercy of mood, desire, or distraction. You choose deliberately. That choice is power. Not power over others, but power over trajectory. The world is becoming louder, faster, more reactive. This is not a disadvantage. It's a filter. Those who cannot regulate will burn out. Those who can will outlast. Discipline is not about becoming feared. It's about becoming immovable. And immovable structures command respect by default, not because they intimidate, but because they endure. That endurance is rare, which is why it stands out. Now let's bring this home. If you are exhausted, it's likely not physical. It's cognitive. You are tired of starting and stopping, of negotiating with yourself, of feeling capable but inconsistent. Discipline ends that cycle, not by making life easier, but by making behavior predictable. Predictable to you when you know you will act regardless of feeling. Uncertainty disappears, and with it, anxiety fades. Not completely, but enough. Enough to move forward steadily. This path is not dramatic. It's not aesthetic. It's not socially rewarded early on, but it works. And over time, it changes how you move through the world. You speak less. You explain less. You react less. And strangely, people listen more. Not because you demand attention, but because you don't need it. That is discipline. Quiet, cold, reliable. And once built, it cannot be taken from you. Because it doesn't depend on circumstances. It depends on you. And that is the rarest form of power in the modern world.